A disgrace to his uniform, serial rapist David Carrick is also another alarm bell that police vetting has failed. The Prime Minister met with the Met Commissioner, who revealed this week that more than 1,000 of his officers remain in service despite allegations of sexual or domestic abuse. Now the Home Office wants all police forces to check their own against national police databases.
I've just had a constructive meeting with the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police and made clear to him, and he agrees, that the abuse of power that we've seen this week is absolutely despicable and it needs to be addressed immediately.
The problem, no doubt, extends beyond London. Speaking out for the first time, a retired police officer we're calling Sally, who we can't identify, says she reported her ex-husband for rape. He was also a serving officer in the north of England who worked on sexual abuse cases. But Sally says officers handling his case had been his colleagues or old friends.
He let me tell him everything that had happened from start to finish. And then at the end of it said, right, let me tell you that, I grew up with him.
And how did that make you feel?
Damage had been done by then. Then the detective sergeant who was leading the investigation, she told me that my partner had worked for her as well, which shocked me.
Sally learned her ex-partner was also alleged to have been violent to his new wife, and separately a neighbour had raised the alarm. Well, Sally's shown us this letter that was sent by a neighbour complaining about the same man, but this time with a different wife. And it says the arguments are getting worse. It sounds as though it's turning physical. The worrying thing is he works for the police, and I thought he'd know better. And he ends by saying, I feel for the woman's safety.
I just don't feel believed. I feel like it's all been brushed under the carpet.
Charges were eventually dropped against Sally's husband, and he kept his job until retirement.
During the investigation, which was 9 months, I'd ring up every month asking for an update. And apparently I was needy because I was always on the phone wanting to know what was happening. If it happened to me again, I wouldn't report it. I found the investigation was more traumatic than the actual incident.
It is the story of David Carrick that has prompted Sally to speak out.
Do you think that the police service is institutionally sexist?
No, I don't.
But the Chief of Police Inspectors has called for swift action.
As we know, it's not the first issue in relation to officers who have committed serious offences, and not just in the Metropolitan Police either. This is a nationwide issue. So that culture that is pervasive in some parts of policing needs to be rooted out.
Sally says the police needs to take complaints against its own officers more seriously. Do you think it would have been handled differently if he wasn't a police officer?
I do, yeah, I do.
And that is the big concern, that the police has a blind spot for its own bad apples. Jason Farrell, Sky News.